Hello, Ben and Steve. How are you both doing today?
Very well.
Thanks.
Good,
How are you
good.
doing, Annie?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm in Toronto right now, but where are you guys? Steve, where are you right now?
I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Greensboro. Very nice. Very nice. And Ben?
I'm currently in London. So yeah, probably not as pretty as Greensboro.
Yeah, Greensboro sounds pretty nice right about now, Steve, I have to say. But I'm honored to have you both here. I'm very excited to hear about your new partnership that was announced, I guess, a couple months ago now. But I watched both of you speak at Kington's 24, and honestly, I was just super happy that you guys are presenting this new process, a new way of doing business to the denim industry. So I'm honored to have you both here to teach me a lesson in verifying sourcing claims through forensic science. But before we get into it, I'd love for you both to introduce yourselves and your companies. Maybe we can start with Ben.
Sure. So firstly, thank you so much for having us be a part of today's discussion, Annie. So yeah, my name's Ben Tompkins. I'm part of the team here at Oritain. So we use forensic science to prove the origin of products. We operate in a number of different industries, but quite heavily within the fashion industry and throughout textiles as well. So really proud to be here talking about our partnership with Cone today.
Amazing. And Steve?
Yes, my name's Steve Maggard. I'm the president of Cone Denim. We've been around about 130 years making denim. We produce about 90 million yards a year. So
wow.
Happy to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation.
A legendary mill. So I'm like I said, I'm excited to have you both here, but I'm also wondering how you guys got to talking. Where did this relationship kind of start, and how did you get connected? And I'd also like to know actually how the partnership works in practice.
Okay, well, we met a little more than 2 years ago, actually at a textile show in Shanghai.
Yeah.
Ben was there as part of the Cotton USA booth, and we began a discussion about the technology and the possibilities, and it just was ongoing. It's been going on for about 18 months now, and then we finally signed an agreement, partnership with them about 2 months ago.
2 months ago. Okay, so it was about 2 years in the works before something actually kind of came to fruition.
Yes.
Okay. And then Ben, maybe you could tell us how this partnership actually works in practice.
Sure. So, and just speaking with Steve earlier, just so surprised that it's already been 2 years since that date. But yeah, it was pretty incredible to be put in contact with the Cone team. And given, I think, Cone's background for sustainability and innovation, the team reached out to us, and it was really a process of trying to better understand the technology and solution, and then to see, okay, how is this being utilized in industry, and then how can Cone implement this into their operations? And so we're just incredibly excited by this partnership, and we're providing scientific reassurance and verification to the sourcing claims, and to therefore really allow Cone to communicate and market to their consumers that they have this level of verification in an authentic manner, which has been verified by a third party. So we can come on to a bit of the how that works for the solution itself, but we provide verification to Cone. We test product at different points in the supply chain, so whether that be raw cotton lint, undyed yarn, finished fabric, all the way through to final garment, to allow Cone to have comfort, I guess, in the claims that they're making.
Yeah, I love that. And I know we're all kind of say we want to take action right now and put a stop to these unethical practices and avoid greenwashing. But I think it's actually rare to see brands and companies who are actually implementing it and are completely transparent. I think it still takes sometimes a bit of investigation and kind of digging to get to the bottom of things. And so that's why I was really excited when I heard about Oritain. And then when I saw you guys partner, I was pretty over the moon about that. And yeah, like I said, we both saw you speak at Kington's 24 a couple weeks ago. And there were a couple of points there that I'd love to dig deeper a little bit on. And one thing that you just mentioned, Ben, too, I heard Steve mention it, and it was one thing that really stood out to me, is that you're giving your customers the comfort of knowing you're doing things right. And in a world where there's so many negative news articles coming out about brands and their supply chains, I thought this was a huge statement. But I'm wondering, Steve, if you've seen more tangible benefits are brands jumping on board? Are they jumping at the technology? Are they asking this information, or yeah, how's it going for you?
Again, we've only signed this agreement about 2 months now, but the initial reaction has been very, very positive. We've had customers reach out to us asking for additional information. We've set up multiple meetings between Cone, the customer, and Oritain, where we're talking about the science and educating them. There has been a significant interest in a lot of very large customers who are very curious about exactly how it works and what it does. So I've been very positively impressed with the reaction that we've had.
Amazing. I love that. I'm glad that the initial reactions are good. And I'm assuming if the initial reactions are good, it's only going to get better from here. And Ben, how does Oritain actually differ from other traceability techniques? Because, we've been seeing some come out, but Oritain is very different from these other ones. So I'd love for you kind of to tell us a bit more about your differentiating factors. And for example, one of the questions I have in particular, is there an upfront investment that's needed with Oritain?
Sure. So for Oritain, so a bit of background. So we combine forensic science with statistical analysis, and hence there may be people that sell us the CSI of cotton, which is, I guess, a nice way to really be able to picture what it is that we do. But we, I guess, exist because, unfortunately, labels and barcodes and paper documentation, they can be mislabeled, they can be misrepresented, misreused. And traceability is really a prerequisite for understanding claims related to social, ethical, environmental impacts. And if you can't prove the origin of that product, it's very difficult to stand behind any claims that might be associated with that particular fiber, fabric, or garment. And we can come into how the actual solution works and a bit of background behind it. But we're unique, I guess, in 3 different areas. One, we're a product test. So we analyze the actual product itself. And that means that we're manufacturing friendly. So we're not having to add anything to the product. We're not having to spray anything. So again, that really gives, and I'm sure Steve can speak to this, but flexibility, because we're not having to integrate machinery into the process. Brands aren't becoming fixed into a particular supply chain that's possibly treating this fiber. So we're simply able to test the product itself. And then finally, we've been around since 2008. And so we've been working in a number of different industries. So we have a pretty substantial network, both in strategic partnerships and commercial partnerships. So we're pretty anyway. And because the science that we're using is a forensic science, it meets something called the Daubert standard, which means that it can be used as admissible evidence in a court of law, if ever it's required.
Right. I remember when I was first hearing about Oritain too, you were telling me that this science is used for murder investigations. And I thought that was very interesting that it's now being used for cotton. But it's very impressive. Sometimes I wish I was a little bit more science-minded and could understand really how it works. But you do a great job of explaining actually how it does function for the average person like me.
I think that's why they let me explain it as well. We have just an incredibly clever and depth team, from PhDs to scientists and statisticians. So I can definitely take no credit for that, but try to explain it as best in layman's terms as possible.
Right. And Steve, so I know Cone has so many programs out there in terms of environmental and social responsibility. I'm wondering which claims Oritain is helping to actually substantiate in terms of the programs you do have.
Again, we see Oritain as being very complementary to a lot of the things we already do. And really what Oritain can do is prove to a scientific certainty, again, admissible in a court of law, where the cotton was actually grown. And so, it doesn't prove whether it's organic or not. It doesn't, prove that it was, not used or not grown with pesticides or anything like that. But what it does do is it confirms scientifically where it was grown. And that's very, very important, because there are areas that are recognized for having more sustainable practices and more sustainable agricultural methods. There's also areas where there has been human rights violations documented, and where our customers have said we do not want to source from those regions. And so what this allows us to do is give them a scientific certainty and prove that what we're doing is what we say we're doing. So if we say we're not from those regions that are prohibited, not only can we provide paperwork, but we can provide testing that actually shows it.
So yeah, it seems like the answer, yeah, for sure, I have to say. And one thing that you said, it verifies exactly where it comes from. And to do that, it boggles my mind that Oritain has collected samples from all around the world to verify these claims. Ben, I'm curious to know, what this question might not be too technical, but I'm just curious to know what this process looks like, and also how forensic science works in cotton.
Sure thing. So we're testing the actual cotton itself. So some people say you're testing soil samples, but we're testing the actual fiber. We work in an array of different fibers as well. But so as you mentioned, the science that we use is a forensic science. So it's actually been around for over 35 years. It's been used in a number of criminal investigations, and because it was founded in the criminal forensic field, it was used in the likes of homicides and ballistics, drug analysis, glass fragment identification, all that weird and wonderful stuff. And we're very pleased to, well, I'm very pleased that we're working in the textile industry as opposed to ballistics and the likes. But it was one of our founders, Professor Russell Frew, who realized that there was a commercial application for this science. And being based in New Zealand, we initially started working in the food industry, so verifying traceability for horticultural, agricultural products with the textile industry. And then we started moving into other industries and fibers. And if we take cotton as an example, so everything that is grown, reared, or made is a product of its environment. And cotton is absorbing as a plant nutrients from the soil. It's being impacted by climatic and other atmospheric conditions. And it's these trace elements and isotopes that we're testing for, which exist naturally within the cotton fiber itself. And these elements are unique to the production location in which that particular cotton is grown. So cotton from the US looks very different to that of cotton from Brazil, India, Pakistan, Turkey, and so on. But because we're measuring for these elements in parts per million, and not only a country of origin, which has a lot of benefit from a social compliance and ethical and environmental perspective, but we can also get down to a regional differentiation and farm of origin where that's required and necessary. So we have a substantial database, and the beauty is that once those, we call them origin fingerprints, once they've been created, they can't be tampered with, they can't be replicated, and they can't be destroyed. And at any point in the supply chain, we're then able to test against that to help substantiate content claims and to really be able to underpin sourcing policies as well.
Right. Yeah, it really just blows my mind at the work that goes in behind the scenes too, to make sure that we have these soil samples collected. And for anyone that wants to know more about the real nitty-gritty science, that was a great explanation. But I remember reading your webpage, like how the science works, I think it's a page on your website called How the Science Works. Yeah, definitely go check out that page if you want to know the actual science and really study that. But to both of you, I just mentioned it briefly, but I usually feel like there's a lot more that needs to be done in terms of a technology, or there's always just so much more that can be done. But right now, I'm kind of feeling like Oritain is a really good answer to actually, I feel like it's the answer. And I'm kind of curious to know if there's plans for the road ahead in terms of this partnership, or for the both of you. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, to me, the science is very impressive, but what I really like about the way that Oritain does this is we do not get to select the samples. We can't cherry pick samples. We don't take the samples and send them to them. They insist that for something to be tested, that there's actually third-party auditors who come into our facilities and actually take the samples. And they don't even tell us when they're coming. So, here's a 20-day window, here's a 30-day window. And then they come into the facility and they take the samples, they cut the samples, they put them in the bags with the identifications. We are not allowed to, or never would, try and well, don't go over in that corner. No, and I think that this provides an additional set of transparency to our customers. It's one thing to have science that can test where the cotton came from, but it's another thing to have a testing method and a procedure in place that assures that it's completely third party and that it's completely documented. Again, if a mill can select and cherry pick the samples that they're sending, then no matter how good the test is, I don't think it has validity. I don't think that it has that ability to put your customer's mind at ease. And that's why this is so important. Again, they come to the facility, they take the samples. We do not influence that in any way. I think that's important to note.
Yeah. I actually didn't know that either. So I want the whole denim industry to use technology like this. So that's why I'm really happy that Cone has set an example for this and a way forward for the rest to follow. And Ben, I'm wondering too, if there's anything you have to add about where you can see this partnership going forward and how you plan to infiltrate the denim industry, maybe, I'd say.
We're really just looking to support Cone in any which way that we can. And I really feel that in a future state, we'll be helping to empower brands. So to empower the customers of Cone who have historically operated in global and complex supply chains where this information isn't necessarily available. And the Cone have really taken the lead in the industry to be able to provide that level of comfort. And I think there's an undeniable shift in the market that consumers are looking for brands and manufacturers and retailers that are acting in a more responsible manner. And traceability is paramount. It's not everything, but it's a key part of that discussion. And there's so much going around at the minute. I think there was an article with Boston Consulting Group and a couple of others that really said that sustainability is a mega trend, and even in the uncertain times that we're going through now, it's something that's only set to accelerate. And being able to communicate responsible business practices to consumers in an authentic way, which has been verified by a third party, is crucial. And hopefully we're able to provide that for Cone and also some of for their customers.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned the consumer now, because what I tried to do is bridge that gap between the industry and the consumer. So yeah, and also, like you said, it's not just a fad. This is not a trend that's going away. I think it's a movement for consumers, and we're learning, and consumers are smart. You're getting smarter, but and like you both said, you're giving your customers the comfort, and that means consumers can also have that comfort of knowing when they see an Oritain logo, or they know their partners are working with Oritain. That's comfort they have, knowing that things are done right, and they don't have to do as much digging or investigating to see whether or not they're buying from a brand that might have been using exploitive labor or something. So that's where I'm a huge fan of, and I think that all information should be available to the consumer if they wish to know. And that's why I think traceability is a huge part of that, and to transparency. And yeah, and again, we mentioned it briefly in the beginning, but I think a lot of the times there's convenient transparency, not true transparency. And so we really want to get deeper and dig deep. And that's why I think the CSI of cotton is a great way to do that. And yeah, I'm really excited that you both are really leading the way for the denim industry. So I thank you for your time today. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, or where people can find you, maybe, if they have any more questions.
Sure. So yeah, you can reach out to us on our website, Oritain.com, and there's so much information there, but there's also an info email, so please feel free to reach out, or through any socials, Instagram, LinkedIn will be contactable. But it's yeah, we're just so appreciative to be able to share this partnership across your platform, and also yeah, across the industry. So thanks so much for having us, Annie.
No, I'm very happy to have you both. So, and Steve?
Yeah, same thing for us. I mean, you can get in touch with us on our website, conedenim.com. We are on social media. We're very active. So, if we get an instant message there, we'll follow up. That's no problem. So we're very excited about being able to tell the story. We feel like, this is something that is very supportive and additive to a lot of the other things that we do. And I personally, I think that this will be, industry standard over the next 5 years. I think that as science allows for transparency and documentation, customers and consumers are going to insist on it. So we're very excited to be the first one and leading the way. And we appreciate Oritain very much. We're excited about the partnership.
Well, thank you both very much for your time today. I know everyone will enjoy watching this, and I'm sure people will be messaging you on Instagram or on your websites too. So I will hopefully see you both maybe one day soon. But for now, I will see you on screen next time, I guess. So you both have a good day, and we'll talk soon.
All the best, Annie. Take care. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.